Good evening, everyone. We're going to be covering three games in this video. We're going to cover the Thursday night game with Dallas and Chicago, where Chicago got its first win. So good for them. Good for them. They played pretty well. And then we're going to cover the early games on Friday nights on ION, which it was the Connecticut Sun and the Indiana Fever, and then the New York Liberty and the Washington Mystics. I thought all these games were going to be close, and as it turns out, two were and one not so much. So, first game we're going to cover is the Chicago and Dallas game. And Camila Cardoso for Chicago had a very good game. I think this was her highest scoring game, if I'm not mistaken. And she had 23 points. Good for her. She looked much stronger inside. And, she's always smiling. She's like, she likes playing. I mean, that's good. It's good to see her. She scores and she's like, yay, and runs down the court. That's always nice to see. And then Ariel Atkins had 17, Courtney Vandersloot had 13, and Rebecca Allen had 13. And then Courtney Vandersloot, I believe she had 9 assists. So that's her gig. So they were, their scoring was spread out. They played together, and they came through. Dallas, on the other hand, you had another game where Enrique has 37 points, and Paige Beckers had 15, and she ended up going out on concussion protocol. It's late in that game. And then Dejanay Carrington had 15, but then everybody else didn't have hardly anything. So, it's nice when Enrique scores, but it becomes too much from one person and not enough for the whole team. I mean, I've played with players like that, and running down the court and they shoot again, and then got to go back on defense, and that gets old after a while. I don't know if her team, I can't imagine that they enjoy that. But it's nice when she makes them, but not so good when she doesn't, because then they lose frequently when that happens. But good for Chicago. They pulled out their first win, and they won 97-92. So it's not like Dallas didn't score. I mean, 92 points is going to win you a lot of games. But, not in this case. Yeah, Chicago outscored them by 10 in the first and then in the fourth. Dallas outscored Chicago by 4 in the second and then 11 in the third. But Chicago started strong and ended strong, so that got them the win. So the next game I'm going to cover, Connecticut Sun and the Indiana Fever. So the Connecticut Sun, on Thursday and Friday, the Connecticut Sun, or by Thursday, the Connecticut Sun and the Chicago Sky were both winless teams. And fortunately for both of those teams, they ended up pulling it out and winning. So now we have no teams that haven't won a game, which that's good. Connecticut has been playing well, but they've kind of blown it in a few games. I mean, they had Minnesota, down last week or earlier this week, and they just couldn't pull it out. They ended up going cold right at the end of the game. But they were playing in Indiana, and they ended up winning 85-83. So in this game, it was close in the first, and Tina Charles was playing pretty well. Tina Charles ended up with 18 points, and she had a lot of turnovers. Well, that's too bad. I didn't notice that. Anyway, but she was driving to the hoop and got Boston in foul trouble. So Boston had 3 fouls in the first half. So they had to take her out for a while. In the third, Connecticut pulled out to a lead by 12 points with 3 minutes remaining in the third. And then it got exciting because Dewana Bonner decided to show up, and she said, no. And she they had started to come back, and then she hit a 3, and that got them within 4. And then she hit another one, got them down to 1. And then there was a couple of possessions, and then she hit a third, and it put him up by 2. Well, from that point on, I believe, let's see here. That was about halfway through the fourth. I'm pretty sure when that happened. And then Connecticut came, I thought, oh no, they're going to blow it again. Connecticut's going to blow it again. And then Sanaya Rivers hit a three. And then the very next possession, Lexi Hall hits a three. And it was a 1-point game. It was going back and forth. And then Connecticut got the lead, and they were up by 2 with 5 seconds left. And Indiana got I forget what they call those, the timeout, which brings the ball to half court. And they got the ball into Mitchell, and instead of driving to the hoop, she decided to force up a three, which, in hindsight, that was not necessarily a great decision, because she could have tied the game and sent it into overtime. And just by driving, because she could have drove right by and probably got pretty close to the hoop for an easier shot than she ended up taking. But, good for Connecticut. They ended up pulling it out, and they won 85. Let's see here. 85-83. And so, good for Connecticut. Indiana, they didn't have Caitlin Clark. And then they lost Sydney Colson to an injury. And then Sophie Cunningham twisted her ankle, and she was out. So they were, they were riding on fumes, I guess. Player-wise. But, they kept it close, and they almost pulled it out. So, good game. I mean, very good game. So then the final game I'm going to cover, which was the early game on Friday, which was the New York Liberty versus the Washington Mystics. And I thought this game was going to be close when I initially saw that they were playing. Number one, New York had a back-to-back. They had to fly out to get to Washington, which isn't a big flight, but you still got to leave home and go to the, another team's home court. And they had just played a knockdown dragout with the Golden State Valkyries and almost lost. And so, but New York didn't miss a beat. Sabrina Ionescu had 28 points. Jonquil Jones was back. Breanna Stewart didn't score a lot, but she was in there, getting rebounds and, doing her thing. Leonie Fevish had a really nice first half. She scored 9 points. Jonquil Jones had 14. Breanna Stewart had 10. Leonie Fevish ended up with 12 points total. So most of her contributions came in the first half. What's weird is Natasha Cloud didn't score in this game, which I didn't notice when I was watching it. But, her and Maureen Johannes, they didn't do much. Maureen Johannes had 3 points. Rebecca Gardner had 11, so that was good for her. Washington, the whole point for Washington was they just shot horribly. And I'm looking at some shooting percentages here. Citron shot, she was one of the good ones. She shot 30% from the floor. Kiki Irifin, 28. Stephanie Dolson was 1 for 4. She was 25%. Brittany Sykes shot 27%. She was 5 for 18. So she just couldn't, she just was not connecting. And then Shakira Austin was 0 for 6. Aaliyah Edwards was 1 for 7. So everybody, Kiki Irifin was 4 for 14. That's like, those three are right under the basket. And they just couldn't buy a basket to save their lives. It was sad. It was like, oh my God, come on, make a basket. And they just, there was a lid on that rim. So they ended up losing 85-63 to the New York Liberty. But they'll be back to fight another day. I was also sad to see that Emily Inkster didn't get in very much. Their normal coach had a graduation for his daughter, I guess, and so they had one of the assistant coaches coaching, and he didn't put her in until like the third quarter. And it's not like she's any better than any of the other bigs that they have, but she can be a spark plug. And everyone else wasn't hitting, so why wouldn't you just switch that out? They had like Dolson and Irifin in, and then they'd take them out and put Aaliyah Edwards and Shakira Austin in. And Shakira Austin and Aaliyah Edwards were 1 for 13. And then he finally put Emily Inkster in, and she was 1 for 3, which she didn't take a lot of shots, but she's more of a rebounder and she's really fast. She runs the floor really well. So anyway, I hope they get her in more. But they're loaded with bigs. Washington is, and but we'll see how that goes. And hopefully, they're going to shoot better in future games. So anyway, but 2 out of 3 were really good games, and I'm going to cover the night games in the next video. Okay, so have a good night.